This morning I've decided to do a sketch with a dip pen and splashing on some watercolor in the technique that I used to use at night in the pubs in the dark during live blues jams, jazz performances, dance performances. I thought I would go through the variety of tools that are possible. I have, as you probably know by now, I love tools and I love testing things out. And so I have a great deal of options when it comes to dip pens. I have all of these holders, of which I have favorites, and some of them I would really love to love, but I end up going back all the time to something like this, which is just a simple wooden or plastic handle about that length and a cork grip. Somehow I can, it's just an extension of my hand and arm. Today I'm going to play with something else. This is a tiny little one that I was intrigued by. The difference here is that the way that it holds the nib is much, much smaller. You'll see there are all kinds of ways for nib holders too. Let's see if you can see that. Where the nib fits in around there, like that. Or around this circle, like that. But see, it does not fit in here because it's too small. So for this one, I need this tiny little nib. Okay? And about the nibs, I like really flexible nibs. And let me see, I'm going to play with these 4 over the next 4 days. And today I'm going to play with this one, actually these 5. All right. What I want to show you, let's see if I can get this on the camera. This is extremely flexible. See how the tip is split. It's where the ink flows down, and I have to apply very little pressure to get that to split. Now I'll show you with the others. This one, you can see it has openings cut into it. That's what I look for because it allows, look at that. It allows those tines, I think? Maybe not tines, I'll have to see what those are called. The nib, 2 parts of the nib to split open very easily. I'm hardly pressing it at all. Okay. Then I have this one, which has a spring in the back to hold a little bit more ink. I got those to experiment with, and I don't know that I really experimented very much because I don't remember how I liked it. But this one also splits, so it is flexible, and if you can see, there are little holes cut in the side, similar to the other 2. It's a little stiffer. I have to apply a bit more pressure with this one. So when I'm working intuitively, just moving around, it's not going to give me quite the line that I personally like. Now some people like a very stiff nib because they don't want that accidental variation. This one has another device on top of it, on top of the nib, that holds more ink. And again, I don't remember how this one performed. That one has some flexibility too, but it's still yet stiffer. And I think because this little cap, almost like a an armored hood holds the nib from being able to be as flexible as it might be without that. Now this one, I just love the triangular, the arrow-like cutout. And this is much stiffer. Now it's not as stiff as some, but it's the stiffest of all. Okay, so today, this morning, for my morning scribble, whoops, better keep those separate. This is my tin that, oh my goodness, I've probably carried these points around with me. Could be 40 years in this Venetian mint tin. Okay, and I'm using, what is that? I'm using the Noodler's Polar Brown ink. And what I'm drawing, sketching, is some pots in my kitchen that have utensils in them. And this is my Morning Scribbler sketchbook. A folder file, manila folder files, recycled. Great surface for both pen and ink and also just some light washes. Oh, this is another one of my favorite pens. This has a pen on one side, dip pen, and it has a pencil on the other side. Great for travel. Well, that's not working very well, is it? Probably why I haven't used that one very much. There we go. Not very satisfying. Really having to work hard getting this to do much of anything. But it might end up with some interesting, terrible word, that word interesting. Who wants interesting? I'd much rather have exciting, expressive. This is just far too much work for me to get into any kind of intuitive line making, which is really what I want for my morning sketches. It does have some interesting lines starting to happen. There we go, that word again. problem is more the angle at which I'm drawing. The angle at which I'm holding the pen. This is why I use 3. Let's see if you can see it. No. Okay. When I use 3, whether it be this one or my nesting cups, I use 1 for ink, I use 1 to keep for clean water, and 1 for dirty water for my watercolor brush. I want to snap a quick photo of this before I add watercolor, because who knows what's going to happen. See, there's so much ink on it, I had to lay down so much that it's all feathering out, which is because of the paper I'm using. And this wouldn't happen on a different paper. I think it's kind of fun. I wouldn't always want that to happen, but it's an effect that I couldn't get, probably, if it weren't for the fact that I was drawing on manila file folders. Here I'm going to play with 2 brushes, a normal sort of watercolor round, which is one of those souvenir brushes you can get in museums and libraries and not art stores, but all kinds of museums, science museums, art museums. Some people have collections of these. This is really maybe the first or second. This was a gift to me, I believe, and I really like it. It's not bad at all. Put off using it for a long time because I thought, how good is that going to be? It has a pencil on the end, so it's really wonderful. And this one, which I keep forgetting what the name of that is, but it's pretty unusual, and it certainly is not something I'm used to, but I'm trying to use it more to understand it better. So we'll try that. In fact, I'll try that first. I've wet my paints. We'll just see. What kind of a coloring mood do I feel like? I'm going to stick with warm colors. It's morning. I haven't had enough sips of my coffee. Just doing clear water up there. Painting in the negative spaces. And the Polar ink does not bleed as much as some of the other inks. That's another choice that you have when deciding what ink you'll use. So I'm adding clear water to let the watercolor just be playful and do what watercolor does beautifully, which is to dance about among itself. Okay, that's it for me. That's good. I like it. It's fun, didn't take long. A little bit of watercolor brings it all to life. I'm not getting fussy with creating form with it. I'm just making a fun page. And now I'll get on with the rest of my day. This is a bit of an experiment that I've been inspired to do. So I'm going to commit to this for a week. My morning scribbles are going to be a return to my very first doodling, my very first inspired doodling, which I've just written a little bit about. I was doodling in telephone books while being bored to death in a nightly ritual of a conversation with my boyfriend back in the 8th grade. And that's my first memory of impulsive doodling. And I realized that I've spiraled around that activity for the rest of my life. And I'm going to be playful about this. I will be setting my timer to 5 minutes because otherwise I could go on forever doing it. And I do want this to just be part of my morning activity. Now, I doodled in telephone books, which I was going to do just for fun, except that now we don't have a telephone book at all. Telephone books have gone the way of the landline telephones, so we no longer use them to find the phone numbers or addresses of our friends, nor do we use them to find the address of a business that we're looking for. Probably kids today don't even know what white pages and yellow pages are. So instead I went to an old dictionary that my daughter Alexis had acquired. She totally got into collecting old dictionaries, and she would sketch on those. She would doodle on those. She would draw insects in ink and then collage them and add watercolor. So I have some of her old dictionaries. This one was about that thick. It's from 1956, a Webster's dictionary. And I've put this together. I've made a few other pages that I've stashed in here. And I got very meticulous about how I formatted them. So I just got carried away, but I'm letting myself get carried away because that's what this is about. So I'm going to set my timer and I'm going to do a 5-minute who knows what on this collage dictionary page. And I will do this for a whole week on different dictionary pages, and then I'll see where I'm going to go from there. So here we go.